Your Creative Push, Episode 86.
Sometimes solutions just arrive at the right moment when you least expect them.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngmin Brown, and my guest today is Cinzia Angelini. Cinzia is a veteran story artist, animator, and director with more than 20 years working in the animation industry. She's worked in 2D as well as CG and is currently a story artist for Illumination Pictures. She has worked on films such as The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, and Spider-Man 2. And her latest project, which is so cool, is titled Mila. And Cinzia, I want to let you be the one to describe Mila. But first, could you give us a little bit about your background and tell us how you got to this point in your career?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Of course.
I'm from Italy originally, and I studied over there graphic design and animation. And then I had the chance to leave and go to Illumination in London. And from there, basically, I kind of never looked back. Unfortunately, the animation industry in Italy is not that great. So from there, I stayed in Europe, in Munich and London a couple of years. And then I had the chance to join DreamWorks for Prince of Egypt in 1997. And then I've been in Los Angeles since then. And I worked for many studios, like you said, both in traditional animation or CG. And in 2008, I then moved into storyboarding. So I'm a story artist at Illumination Entertainment now.
Very cool. And then with all that going on, tell us about Mila, because this is just an awesome concept.
I always was fascinated growing up about the stories that I heard from my mom and my grandmother. So my mom was 5 years old during World War II. And around from 3 to 4 or 5. And she always told me stories of how she felt as a kid in the middle of that madness when the bombings would arrive. That's a story that just stuck with me, plus all of the grown-up stories from my grandmother, of course, but mostly, how a 5-year-old would feel in the middle of bombings. So when I had a chance to work on thinking about my own personal project 6 years ago, I thought really deeply, and I said, I really want to say something about and talk about that, and how conflicts, whenever they happen in history, affect the kids, affects the children. So that's how it started. And of course, what my mom experienced was mostly a sense of feeling lost and not know what to do, or so just freezing in the middle of wherever she was when the bombings and anti-sirens would go. So of course, as an animation character, you cannot really have a non-active, character. It's not that interesting. So I had to kind of work a story around that. But the feeling was always that, what kept me thinking about how to develop the story and the character was always, the core idea was that. Of course, translating that into something that was more interesting for an animation short. I started talking to friends and colleagues, and I was surprised by the reaction. I think the theme of the short is so powerful that that's why we attracted so many people during the years, and we grown to a team of more than 250 artists from 25 countries. And I don't think if it wasn't for the theme, I would have had this reaction from the artists. And artists are generally, for animation, they have to work in big studios or even medium studios, but environments that are big realities, and they usually deal with mainstream cartoons that are great. And I'm myself as a story artist, working on fun stuff, and I love it. And it's great to make people laugh and kids laugh mostly. But at the same time, when you have the chance to work on something totally different, they tend to jump on it because they want to be part of a movement and say something. That's what we want to create. Yeah.
Well, I agree, and it's cool that you're doing a theme that isn't, what you traditionally would see, but is so important as well. So the trailer just came out, and it's beautiful, and I can't wait to see it. What were some of the challenges that come from, bringing, and still do, I'm sure, come from bringing all those people from all around the world together and working in a virtual environment?
We've been working on this for a few years now, so we evolved as a team as technology did. So I think nowadays it's much easier than 5 years ago to keep the communication going. We are using apps for communication like Slack that were not there 5 years ago. So for the more we go forward, eventually we'll be done, of course, soon. But the more you go forward with projects like this, the easier it's going to get. When we started, it wasn't as easy because the tools were more limited. Now they were great already compared to 15 years ago, of course. Something like Mila probably 15 years ago would have not been, possible. But it's actually, nowadays we are totally, we know how to keep in touch, communicate, don't lose, important information. I mean, it can always happen, but that happens in big studios as well. It's just the nature of animation, especially CG, is like so tedious, so many little things, and like just the name spacing that is off can mess up a, entire shot. So that's not, it's a daily challenge, but it's not impossible. So it's totally doable. If you set it up with the teams, in a way that, supervisors, are, in contact with their people and production with the supervisors and so on. So it's totally doable. I worked, my entire career in big studios, and I've seen communication issues all the time. It's just the way how you set it up and how you follow up with that.
Absolutely. Did you have any initial fears going into it, to kind of take on such a large project on your own without the help of a studio going into it?
Well, I knew it was going to be challenging. I probably didn't know how challenging it would have been. So that was good not to know it. Sometimes
it's better to be ignorant. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. My father usually tells me I'm like a warrior. So I have a little bit of that attitude of let's just do it and then we'll figure it out as we go. So, and sometimes you need to do that. You kind of have to believe in your dream and what you want to do and to say, and just do it. If you stay and think about too much, or what could be the consequences, at the end, you're not going to do it and you lose the momentum. So I just, I felt like I wanted to do it. I saw people's reaction and I said, okay, let's do it. And actually I took a year off at some point because, I had my second child, and it was kind of a difficult moment because it was a lot, so I didn't know if I was gonna go forward. This was like 2009, so, and people started emailing me saying, so are we gonna do it or not? I say, yeah, but I don't have a budget, it's difficult. How are you gonna do it? And I say, we work for free. We don't care. We want to do it. We want to see Mila up on the big screen. So when you get people's email and reactions like that, it's like, okay, so let's do it,
And that's what I love about your story, is the fact that so many people came together, and like you said, because of the theme, because of the story that you're trying to tell. What would you suggest to somebody who wants to, has this great idea, maybe a similar idea of a very large project that has a great theme and a great message, to get people on board to help them out with it?
Well, I started with a small group, and then it's kind of word of mouth. And now, with the trailer, since the trailer came out like a week ago, I get so many emails every day of people that want to help. But even before the years where we were kind of more under the radar, it's friends of friends knowing that their friend works on something and they ask them and they want to be involved. And So it's mostly like the artistic community talking to each other and coming to you, mostly that you reaching out. It's really incredible. I mean, sometimes if I need a particular, I miss a particular person in the pipeline where, I need like CFX artist, for example, these days, we probably going to reach out and email a few people we know that do that. But usually 95% of the time is people offering to work on Mila. And yeah. So cool. Yeah, for somebody that starts, the beginning is always more difficult because no one knows you. But if you have like a strong presentation and a strong idea and character, and you start maybe with a test shot or something that will give people the sense of how the film would come up with, and they have some visuals. That's, nothing talks more than that, once they see something that they like the old teaser that we had up for years, that attracted so many people. If we didn't have that, we probably would have not had so many people coming to us. So visuals are great, to start with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's having something tangible to kind of hold up and say, all right, this is the start of the project, as opposed to just kind of putting an idea out there into the ether.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Can you talk a little bit about the things because you're still working your job, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm 40 hours at Illumination.
Because I think that really resonates with a lot of people, myself included. How do you kind of balance that working on your personal projects and then still having some sort of energy to work?
It's called multitasking.
Yeah. It's a tough thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not able to multitask and you have a full-time job, you probably don't want to do it. Yeah. It's hard, and I have 2 kids and, husband, family. So it's not easy, but, once you get into the rhythm and, you need to prioritize things and especially, I have an amazing support team, my producer, Andrea Ems, is great and she does so much, to bring Mila to the big screen with her team. So, as an artist, you cannot embark on something of this scope without having a great producer and a production team, because otherwise, especially being all remotely, connected from we have, all sorts of time zones, 25 countries. So, you cannot do it on your own. So having a very strong support production group, and then having supervisors that kind of manage their teams. I supervise animation as well because I've done that for so many years. But I have 2 lead animators helping me out. So you need to be able to let people do their jobs, and you cannot do it all. At the end, as a director, the decision is yours. And of course, I have my hands everywhere. But also, I rely a lot on the expertise of the supervisors and my producer. So that's very important to have. You need a very strong structure to support you. Otherwise, you're not able to do something like this on your own. Not at this, quality of animation for 9 minutes of CG and 2 minutes of end credits in 2D like we have. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you have anything that kind of holds you back on like a daily basis? Like we were talking before the interview about how little sleep you're getting, but
yeah.
Is there any days where you're just like, I can't do this or whatever, and then how do you get through that?
Yeah, it happens. You feel totally overwhelmed. No, it's like too much. But then, you have to take it a step at a time, and most times I think is mostly how you feel about yourself or in that day, and instead of just, I have so many things to do. Some days you feel great and you do so much, It's also that as well. Unfortunately, with all this going on, you end up not sleeping that much. And it's not good, it's not good for you. So I try as much as I can to rest when I can. And when it's too crazy, I'll just push through and hope for the craziness to end soon. So, but there are periods of times where, you prepare something important. Like we are preparing the Indiegogo campaign coming up soon. So now it's a bit insane, the rhythm that we have in the production at the moment. But it's cool. As like I said before, as long as you have a good team supporting you and going forward and everybody does their job, then one thing after the other, you're able to fix and solve everything and do everything.
Yeah, one step at a time.
One step at a time, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Indiegogo campaign and how people can help support your Mila project?
Yeah, May 10th, we're starting. Basically, we are all volunteers. We've been working for 5-6 years now on Mila, and we are to the last year of production. We have many costs because even if we are volunteers, there are like production costs, rendering costs, and server and all of that. We really need the support of the people and the fan and everybody to help us get to the final line. So it's a very important moment for us, and we have amazing perks and maquette and prints from. It's amazing because all the animation community helped out, and I have so many friends that are amazing animators in the industry, and they donated Mila-inspired art piece. So we are going to have great prints giveaways, and Mila talks about kids caught in the middle of work. So we have like a special perk dedicated to kids with a coloring book and postcards drawn by kids inspired by Mila. So we have many things that hopefully will make everybody happy.
Very cool. And we'll have links to that at the show notes page at yourcreativepush.com/86. Has there been like a worst moment in this project for you where, just everything seems to go wrong? And then how do you kind of get through that, aside from when you were pregnant?
We are like a lot of people. So sometimes you have personalities clashing into each other. It didn't happen that much, if you consider 5 years, 250 people. But, there were a couple of incidents where that happened, and that's what hurts me the most and stresses me out the most, because I don't really like to see bad things going down between people. So that could be probably one of my worst moments when we had a couple of those happening, but we went through it, and it was fine at the end. But those things kind of are not great, and I don't like it to happen. But it's you cannot do anything about it. It's so many people, and you will always find two personalities that are not really going together very well. So
growing pains.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, it has been a great experience. I haven't had, apart from that, I would do it, gazillion times over, even if it's so much work.
Right.
But it's truly a great experience to have, and I recommend something like this. Maybe not at this scope, but even like a small little 1 minute short. I recommend anyone that wants to be a director to have that experience, because you go through all the departments and you learn so much. So many directors from grow inside studios and they get to directing, but they don't really know what it takes from A to Z to do everything. And if you get to a directorial position with that under your belt, that experience, I think it's a great plus.
Absolutely. And it's a scary thing though too, like you said, if you don't know what to do, like how to do all those different things, whatever kind of project you're taking on, what advice would you give to somebody that's deciding to start out a big project like this and doesn't know exactly everything that they're going to be facing?
Not to be scared that sometimes solutions just arrive at the right moment when you least expect them. So to keep a positive attitude and open-minded, and definitely know how to find the right people to surround yourself with, because you cannot know it all. Even like the biggest directors, they have great collaborators. You cannot know everything, but you know the person that do know that thing. And if you trust your team, then you end up with, being the strongest director for that job. So it's a delicate balance to learn how to trust your people and give them all the space they need, and step back when needed and observe and keep the focus and your vision at the same time,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Cinzia, it is time for the final push. And this is where I ask you to reach through the microphone and grab the shoulder of one of the listeners that you've really inspired today that's thinking maybe I could do this too, and give them your best advice and push them into action.
Okay, so if you're out there and you want to start, I definitely suggest that you pick a subject that is dear to you and is very personal, and that will bring the strength to it, and people will feel that it's something that you really care about, and they will feel your determination in bringing that project to the end. So I think, especially as a first film or personal film, picking something that is personal to you, to your life, or to the life of somebody close to you. It's very important because it has a strength that maybe another subject would not have. So, and then dedicate the time to develop the story and the characters. If you have like a 5 minutes short that is beautiful but doesn't say much, and the story is like not defined, it won't be remembered. So think about the story and pitch your idea to your friends and family and hear them out. Sometimes when we have something in mind, we tend to just want to do whatever we have in mind. So learn to listen, because if somebody or even like 2 or 3 people tell you something is wrong there, they don't understand, there is an issue to be solved. So it's important to pitch your story and be open to criticism, take them in a positive way, rework the story until it's very strong, and then you're ready to start, because you have such a strong project that people and artists that hear you pitch it will definitely come on board and help you with whatever you don't know, because they know.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Yeah, it gets you on board with yourself first before you kind of put it out there. And yes, a subject that's near and dear to your heart, it'll keep you interested in it if it goes on for a couple of years. Otherwise, you might grow bored of it and quit. So
absolutely.
I love that advice. Cinzia, thank you so much for coming on the show today and for giving us that push.
Thank you so much. And if you want more info, sign up for our newsletter at milafilm.com.
Yeah, milafilm.com is the website where you can go. And you can also head to Instagram, Flickr, Twitter, YouTube, Mila Film, or head to our show notes page at yourcreativepush.com/Mila or yourcreativepush.com/86 to find all the links we talked about today, including links to the Indiegogo campaign, which will go live the day this airs, May 10th. And if you want to support it, check out the trailer. It's really, really beautiful. And just, I really appreciate this project, Cinzia. It's a great message and really inspiring the way that you took so much time out of your life to do this and bring so many people together. It's super inspiring for anybody that has a kind of a grand idea with a good message that wants to do it themselves. So I really appreciate what you do, and I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Wow. I mean, how inspiring is that? Thank you, Cinzia, for coming on the show, and thank you for doing what you do. I think that the lesson here is pretty obvious, guys. It's do that thing that is in your heart. Do that thing that you can't stop thinking about. Do the thing that you are most passionate about, and other people will pick up on that and follow you, whether it's to check out what you're doing or if you need help to complete whatever it is that you need to complete. It's not a want, it's a need. You kind of have to do it. You're stuck with it, as we talk about all the time in this podcast. You're stuck with it like a disease. So if you are contaminated, you better go and get your project done. Create a little something that you can show other people so that you can contaminate them too and get them stuck on your idea as well. But it all comes from being honest with yourself and being honest with your passions, what's really important to you, and being brave enough to tell people about it, to put it out there. And today is May 10th. Today is the day that the Indiegogo campaign starts for Mila. So if you haven't already, go to the show notes page at yourcreativepush.com/Mila, M-I-L-A. That is where you can find the trailer, which is beautiful. You gotta check it out. You'd be amazed at what these people have put together in their spare time. And then check out the Indiegogo campaign and all the other ways that you can help to support this really, really cool project. And again, thank you to Cinzia for taking the time out of her very, very busy schedule with everything that she has going on to tell us a little bit about her journey and her creative process. We really, really appreciate it. I just want to say thank you real quick to Grape Apex for giving us a 5-star review on iTunes and saying, having this podcast to connect with every day has made a real positive difference in my life. When the "who do you think you are" gremlins come and try to tear me down and stop me from making art, I now have authentic words, joys, and struggles from working artists to lift me away from the negativity. That buoyancy has helped me to start and to keep me making art again. In fact, that's all I want to do now. It has inspired me to connect and encourage other creative people I know, so the effects are boundless. The 30-minute daily format helps establish a routine and carries over into my art making. Thank you for this podcast. For artists, I think it's the best one out there. Wow, that was so nice. That was such a nice review. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that review. That's so nice of you to say. And by leaving that review, you're really helping out the show. So I appreciate that. And if you want to leave us a similar awesome review, I would be really, really touched. You can find out how to do it at yourcreativepush.com/review. It's pretty easy, but the instructions are there. Or if you happen to listen on something other than iTunes, please just leave a review if they have reviews on that podcast apparatus that you are listening to. I would really appreciate it. And it will help the show expand. So that's the nicest thing you can do. On tomorrow's show, we have Steven.
It's kind of like you got to just put yourself out there. I think it's less so a confidence and it's more so like a carelessness. And I think this kind of comes full circle now because we were talking about, planning our lives out too far in our heads. And I think if you try too hard to make decisions with your head and be like if I made that decision with my head to sing on that song, it never would have happened because I would have been like, oh, I can't sing. Why am I wasting my time? Why would I send this to anybody? That's going to be embarrassing. And the list goes on because the head is like, we're programmed to like protect ourselves from harm. And part of that is like embarrassment or shame. I guess when you really love something, you kind of become overwhelmed with emotion and you start listening to your heart more, and your heart really is unafraid, and it just kind of just lets it come out. And I guess, my advice is, if you feel like you should do something, do it and don't think too much about it and see what happens. It's not that the worst that can happen is not nearly as bad as you think.
Steven is this new musical artist that I am in love with. Well, I'm in love with his music, not him. Well, maybe him a little bit too. I don't know. Definitely a man crush there, but he was kind enough to come on the show to tell us all about his creative journey as he is starting out so strong. His album comes out today, actually, his debut album, and his music is already just light years ahead of so many other artists, and he is one of my favorite people to listen to right now, and I can't wait for you guys to hear what he has to say and hear a little bit of his music too. So that is for you tomorrow. I know it will inspire you, but hopefully you're inspired today as well to go and get that work done. So go and get it done. I love you all so much, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Have a great and productive day, and we will catch you then. Bye.